had to wait for the transition then. Hello, good evening, YouTube. How are we doing? Welcome back to this next episode of FPL Family with me, Lee. And this is Sam. And there we go, Sam. Game week 2 in the bag.
The lights doesn't look right in this room tonight.
The lights? What's wrong with the lights?
I don't know, it doesn't look right.
I look as if I've got a little bit of colour in the Costa del St Albans. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I've got a little bit of... You look like you could do the holiday.
No, it doesn't look right. The lighting's out.
Oh, okay. What would you like to change?
Well, there's nothing I can do.
There's nothing you could
but
do.
It
We're going to
looks terrible. The camera looks terrible today.
Okay, well, we're going to go with it and hope that that's good enough, Sam. We're going to hope that's good enough. Welcome to the live stream, guys. Game week 2 in the bag. And for all of those of you that got behind the big Haaland-shaped sofa for game week 2, because you didn't have him, you were right to be behind there. You were right to be behind there. And there's going to be some of you in the live chat that have triple captained Haaland. I'm absolutely sure. I saw plenty of that going on Twitter. Our son Max, who's 10 years old and plays alongside us in FPL, did hit the triple captaincy. So we now have a 10-year-old that is a good 40, 50 points ahead of us, which is kind of incredible.
No, he isn't that far. It might be ahead of you that much.
He's probably ahead of me that much. Yeah, no doubt about it. But that was the story of the game week, really. We will go through all the games. We'll talk about what we watched on TV. We'll look about the games today. Another very efficient win for Liverpool. Very, very happy with that. Liking the look of slot ball so far. We'll obviously talk about your lot and a nice 4-0 win, which I think we're expecting. And for those of you that were patient with Heung-Min Son, fair play. I think we sat here last week and said, look, it's Everton. They haven't got a fullback on that side. Son will get some joy. Didn't quite expect the gift that he got for the first goal from Jordan Pickford, but listen, Son owners will absolutely take it. So for those of you that have got maybe Haaland triple captain and Son this week, they were the two to have. They were absolutely the two to have.
Madueke was the actual one to have.
Madueke was the one to have. We've got to talk about Chelsea as well, because again, they've racked up a ton of goals as well as looking pretty bad at the back. So how do we feel about them going forward? And again, when we got to this time last week, I was talking about the fact that I'd try and get out of game week 1 if we can with as fewer problems as possible. And I think coming out of game week 1, I just about survived. Whereas now, I feel like I've got a few problems in my team. Not happy with the way it looks. Are you kind of happy with the way yours looks?
Yeah, there's probably one player in there that there's Barco, but, everyone's got a Barco-shaped problem, haven't they?
Yeah.
But apart from him, there's probably one player that I'm looking at going, definitely don't want you. And then there's a goalkeeper that I'm looking at going, didn't really want you when I started the season. I'm not really sure why I did this.
Palace not exactly starting the season as we thought, are they? Let's be honest.
No, but
ain't looking great.
I don't think they will until the window closes. And then once the window closes, maybe you get a little bit more security potentially from Palace, I guess.
Well, the players get a bit more certainty as to who they're going to be playing with, right?
Yeah. We'll have to see. I mean, look, I'm not going to be making a goalkeeper change at any point soon. That's going to definitely happen when I get to wildcard eventually. So Hendo will just sit between the sticks for now. But it is a little bit frustrating when you look at how some of the other goalkeepers, David Raya, I'm looking at you, are getting on because, I was very close to having him, as you well know, and he would have been a phenomenal pick for the start of the season.
What an unbelievable save, by the way, David Raya. Did you see that one? I mean, he pulled off a couple of decent saves, and he fully deserved. I think got some bonus points in the end. We'll talk about the Arsenal game in a bit more detail in a sec.
Ended up on 10 points for the game week.
10-pointer for Raya, and if you had him, fair play, and he fully deserved it as well, because not only is he good with his feet, but he demonstrated how good he is at shot stopping. That one where Ollie's got to score, right? He's got to score that one. There was a couple that Ollie Watkins should have scored. We'll talk about him as well, but that header from point blank range, where Raya's on the floor and he gets up and pulls off that save, was absolutely
really good.
Top draw. And Arsenal showing again why, listen, are off to a good start. No messing about, are they? Not messing about, just straight up to speed. Even Villa away, you think, is that going to be a difficult game? And don't get me wrong, they could have conceded, but so good. Let's say hello to a few people, Sam. We've got Daniel Dowley is in. Evening, Lee and Sam. 89 points this week.
Well done.
89 points. Very nice indeed. Very good. Civilian X is here. I took out Gibbs, White and Solanke for Rodgers and Watkins. Do I have too much future bias? Civilian X says. Well, look, those moves, I think you might just have gone a week too soon on those moves, Civilian X. I think for game week 3, having Watkins and Rodgers is somewhere where I actually wouldn't mind being. One of those, at least, I think is going to be coming into my team. We're going to talk about that a bit later on. Thank you for the super chat, Kens. Kens is in. Good evening. Decent week. 300k green arrow for Ken. So liking that, mate. Thinking Nkunku to Minter, as already have Morgan Gibbs-White. Smith Rowe, Rodgers. So he's got quite a cheap looking midfield, and then bench Minter for Rodgers this week and play him in 4.5. So again, that's more of a, I want rid of Nkunku than I want Minter statement, isn't it? There from Ken's. He's already got quite a lot of cheap midfielders, but he's willing to go down again just for the sake of getting rid of Nkunku.
I'm kind of intrigued about that, because I think if I was going to go for a Brighton midfielder right now, given it's from Nkunku, so price point, I would absolutely go for Matoma over Minter. I just think
It's a million more expensive, isn't he?
Yeah, but Nkunku's the same price as Matoma. So just go sideways, like, in terms of the price point. Like, I think Matoma is being absolutely overlooked, and that is something that we should be mindful of, is overlooking someone like him.
All right, well, we'll talk about him and Brighton, who looked bang up for it, didn't they, at the weekend? Looked very, very good indeed. And just while we're on the on the subject of Brighton, we do need to give a shout out to our friends over at FPL Black Box. Az and Mark did the Match of the Day challenge. If you watched the guys do the Match of the Day challenge, how good was it? Get in the chat and tell me how good that was.
So much, weren't we?
We were laughing our heads off. The guys, absolutely great job, Mark and Az. If you're not subscribed over to the FPL Black Box channel, at the end of the stream, we'll do the links and all the stuff in the description, but search FPL Black Box in the YouTube search bar and just go and hit subscribe so that you know when Mark and Az are live next. They did the Match of the Day challenge. For those of you that don't know, you basically just ignore social media and all football and all scores.
They delete
all day.
WhatsApp and all the socials off their phone.
They actually delete the
so that they can't find out.
And it was so good. And so Mark's reaction when Forest won and Az's reaction when Brighton won was so good, wasn't it? It was brilliant.
Thing we said, wasn't
Absolutely brilliant.
We were watching the lunchtime game, and obviously it was Brighton. And I remember saying to you in the morning, I'm a bit gutted for Az that he's picked this week for Match of the Day challenge, because he would have been able to watch his boys. And obviously, for those of you that aren't in the UK, it doesn't always happen here because we don't get to watch every game live. And when they scored that 95th minute goal, that's the first thing I said was, Az is going to go mad on Black Box tonight. And he did. It was so nice. And yeah, we were having a lot of fun when we were watching them and texting Yelena at the same time, because obviously she was downstairs. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. I like it when those two do your Match of the Day.
Great juxtaposition as well, because I think Mark obviously was without Haaland. Az had Haaland, but then Mark had Son and Az didn't. So there was loads going on every time a new game on Match of the Day came on, and there was new reactions and stuff every day. It was really, really good. Lukey Boy 123 is in Black Box was amazing last night. It was really good, guys. So
every time they do a Match of the Day challenge, it's the same though, isn't it?
It was. So well, usually Mark comes off a lot worse than he did yesterday. I think he actually had a decent week in the end, despite not having Haaland at all.
Yeah.
And that just says, there's a comment right there, isn't there, that those of you that haven't got Haaland, I think if you use those funds wisely, you can get a pretty decent score. You can even not have the hat trick. And triple captain is fair play. If you've played the chip, you've smashed it this week. Well done. But for those of us that have just captained him and got I think it was 34 points in the end, if you've got Son instead, or Salah and Son instead, then this week at least, you can cover it. You can sort of survive, if that's the right phrase, without having the Haaland hat-trick. I mean, the key is, can you get all of them? And I think the answer is no to that.
You're never going to be able to win all of them. It's just a question of which sacrifice are you prepared to make.
Yeah, totally. Super chat from Nigel the Crab. Hello, mate. How are you? Thank you very much for the super chat. You should not keep super chatting us that much money. Instead, you should be donating that to your cancer charity that you're... Oh, actually, the super chat is about that. He says, well, what a weekend. Red Arrow, triple captain Porro, if you know, you know. But he raised £200 for Young Lives versus Cancer with FPL Fran. Wildcard active now. Haaland, Saka, Salah, De Bruyne, all in. So yeah, Simon, thank you for the super chat, mate. But listen, we'll send it back to you so that you can stick it in the pot for Young Lives versus Cancer. Fair play to you, mate, for what you're doing for that charity. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, really, really good. He's got himself on Black Box. He's doing a bit of a chat. Busy boy, isn't he, Si, nowadays?
Yeah, I see him everywhere.
Busy boy, the crab.
He'd be too busy to come on here soon.
Yeah, especially...
Soon enough, we'll lose our mod. He'll be off. Having his own channel.
Especially he's walking sideways all the time. It's difficult to get around, isn't it?
Harry used to mod for us. Now look at him.
That's it, yeah.
That's destiny for Si as well.
Drops in every now and again, doesn't he, old Harry?
Yeah, drops in. Yeah, he'll probably drop in today because Chelsea have had a good week, so he'll probably drop in to say hello.
Wilco's in. He says, go on the crab. Yeah, go on the crab. Paul Cook is here. Hey, Paul. Who else have we got? Babani is in. Hey, mate, how you doing? Gavin Doyle, triple captain Haaland. Nice one, Gavin. And into the 100 club for game week 2. Very, very nice indeed, Gavin. We've got B is in. Hey, B, how we doing? Evening, FPL fam. Great results this weekend. Come on, you Spurs, she says. Come on, you Spurs. So I reckon...
Did you see that marauding Mickey van der Ven
run?
That is a thing of beauty. The kids and I sat there and we've watched that on replay about
I bet you have.
30 times today because Mickey's posted it to his social. Honestly, there's nothing better than when your centre-back picks up the ball at the edge of his own box and runs the full length of the pitch to the other box, passes it to your captain who slots it in the back of the net. Mickey van der Ven, you are a beautiful man.
It was some effort, wasn't it? It was some effort. And what with him and with Romero chipping in with some decent FPL scores, B is absolutely right to say coys in the chat. I want to start there. Spurs 4, Everton 0. I can't say that I'm too shocked by the score. I did think that Ange would get a reaction out of your draw against Leicester. And I thought if you were going to go up against anybody, it would be a right-backless Everton.
Do you not feel a bit gutted, though? Because, so as a Spurs fan, thrilled about this. Thrilled with the performance, thought we were great. We were coming up against a weakened Everton team, sure. But when we looked a bit vulnerable, the changes Postecoglou made strengthened the team in the right areas. We didn't ever look massively like the clean sheet was going to go, which is a big thing when you're talking about Spurs defence.
Sure, yeah.
But as an FPL manager, I can't help but feel a little bit gutted because had Solanke been on that pitch, he would have absolutely feasted.
You think so?
Like, I just think the way that the way the game was playing out, the balls that were going into the box, I couldn't see anything other than a couple of goals for Solanke. And I'm watching it back on Match of the Day yesterday, and obviously in the highlights that Spurs have put out as well, and going, oh, it's just a little bit annoying because it looked like it was going to come all week, didn't it? Dyche's comments about only having 14 players available and Spurs its first home game, all of that good stuff. We were pretty much full strength apart from Solanke, but even then we were playing the formation-ish that we were playing in pre-season, although we gave the debut to the kid who, Odegaard, who looked... Actually, I thought really good.
Well,
really
the
debut.
little bits I saw.
Running.
Yeah, he looked good,
Yeah.
good feet, looked confident, very direct. I guess, not really one for FPL because I guess as soon as Solanke's back, he goes back on the bench, does he? And Son goes left.
I guess so, yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But a little shout out to James Maddison because honestly,
Low-key having a good season,
like,
isn't he?
Yeah, and he was getting a lot of stick, James Maddison, at the back end of last season and obviously over the summer because of the England stuff, not being in good form when he came back from that long-term injury. Low-key going about his business the last couple of weeks, and I watched him in this one, and there were at least a couple of opportunities where he could have and should have got more FPL points than he did this week. So if you've got a James Maddison in, I thought I was going to sit here today and say, great performance from Spurs, but all off now. All off because it's difficult. It's Newcastle and Arsenal. Then I watched Newcastle today.
Well, yeah.
And I'm now thinking, maybe don't get all off because defensively, Newcastle not looking great at the moment. Whereas Spurs, attacking-wise, looking good. If you're a Porro owner like myself, it's a little bit frustrating, isn't it, when you see Romero pop in with a lovely header and when you see Van der Ven get that assist. But then last week we got the goal from him and a 9-pointer.
Yeah,
so you can't be
complain. You can't complain with
that.
that.
If you'd have said starting the season, Porro's going to get a goal and a clean sheet in the first 2 matches, I think you'd have been thrilled about that. It's just that the other two also got big returns. I think Romero got 14 this week for his clean sheet and his goal.
Porro could easily have got something as well. He was as attacking as he was in Gameweek 1. He would be a stick for me. I wouldn't want to be selling him. And I think while Solanke's out, Son playing through the middle, a bit fortunate with the first goal because of Pickford, etc. But nothing to dislike about Spurs and nothing to put me off, potentially wanting to sell ahead of Gameweek 3. I'd be keeping.
But I think the big thing coming out of this one, other than you keep Spurs, particularly, we'll talk about Newcastle a little bit later on, but I think the other big thing that came out of this was how much Everton have become a team to target now.
Well, Wilco says that. He says Everton making Spurs look like Brazil. So, good.
We are like Brazil, Wilco.
Good performance from Spurs. But, the Toffees, not good. Yeah, not good.
And they've got Bournemouth next. And I think Bournemouth will consider themselves incredibly unlucky not to have returned all 3 points in their fixture today against Newcastle. Having that goal ruled out for a handball at the end, I was a bit like, oh, not sure about that. But, they look all right, Bournemouth. They've started the season relatively well, given that they're without Solanke and they've got new players in. They're having to learn how to play together.
Semenyo looked good today, didn't he?
He did
the bits that I saw.
Yeah,
the bits
he did look good today.
Did you think that was a goal at the end?
I did think it was a goal, yeah. I'd have given it.
It's handball.
It's not really, though.
It is handball.
No, I don't think so.
He's got...
Look at the player's reaction. Not a single player, Newcastle or Bournemouth.
Yeah, but that's because that's what the VAR is there to pick up. I'm sorry, that's handball.
Nah.
He should not miss that header.
If that that goes against Liverpool, you're raging.
He just misses the header and it hits his arm.
No.
It's a handball.
It's not a handball for me.
All right.
But I think you target Everton now. Like, I'm looking at Bournemouth thinking, probably could have a Bournemouth player for next week. And then when you look at it, obviously after that we've got an international break, but then we come back from the international break and it's Villa that play Everton. Now, all right, we are talking a few weeks down the line then, because if we've got the fixture next week and then international break. But if Everton is still this bad, then who was it at the beginning of the stream that said that they got in Watkins and Rodgers this week? Like, you're looking
Pens,
like
right?
you're looking like you're set up nicely for that fixture, aren't you? In 2 weeks' time.
Well, let's talk about them next then. We're going to jump around the fixtures a little bit here, but I want to go to the evening game then. Villa 0, Arsenal 2. Hard to analyse this one, isn't it? Because okay, Arsenal got the job done, and you've got to say they've started the season very well. It doesn't feel like they're messing about this year. They're knuckling down. Good pre-season, 2 wins out of 2. What's not to like?
Yeah.
But there was a lot from Villa in this game that if you've got a Rodgers, if you've got a Watkins, if there's anybody else that you've got in that team, if you do happen to have a Bailey, and I don't think there's too many Baileys around, so it could be a good differential. But if you've got any of the Villa, either attacking players or defensive players, you've got a Conter or whatever, then it's not looking too bad. And the reason it's not looking too bad, guys, is and we've said this for a few weeks on here, Gameweek 3 is kind of an important week if you are an Aston Villa owner in FPL, because they are now top of the ticker for the next 5, with Leicester away up next, which I'm not sure that's as blue as it maybe sounded at the beginning of the season. But then it's Everton at home, as you rightly say, in 4. Wolves in 5, who looked bang average and well open against Chelsea today. Ipswich away, and then United in 7. So Villa look like the team to target in terms of transfers in. And I want your thoughts in particular on Mr. Rodgers, because I thought he was very, very good in this game. Very impressed.
It's funny because we were out and about yesterday, weren't we? And we said, right, we make sure that we get home for 5:30 because we wanted to watch this game. Because both of us...
do some scouting.
We wanted to scout Aston Villa. Both of us don't have any Villa assets, and we wanted to really pay attention to this one and make sure that heading into next week, we were investing in the right Aston Villa asset. And also I was all eyes on Arsenal as well, because they've started the season well, but I've only got 2 and I could have 3. And, they're one of those teams that I think they're kind of fixture-proof, aren't they? I thought Morgan Rodgers was the standout for me in this game. They felt like they were the team to target, I think, in terms of, or the player to target within that team. He felt like he was the one that was the most likely to get returns. Watkins got plenty of opportunity, just doesn't look like he's fully up to speed yet for me.
No, there was a couple of misses, wasn't there? There was one in the first half, which you would expect him to score and tuck away on his right foot. And then, of course, the header in the second half that Raya just does unbelievably well to save. It's a worldy save, isn't it? And I remember when we watched it, I said to you, he's got to score that. And you went, no, that's a proper save from Raya. And I went, no, he's got to score. And I looked at it again, I thought, no, you're spot on. It's a worldy save. But yeah, maybe a couple of opportunities to stick ones away. I kind of... With Watkins, though, don't you feel encouraged by the fact that he's in those positions and that at some stage over the next few game weeks, particularly with those fixtures, he's going to get a couple, isn't he, surely?
Yeah. Yes, you're right. However, I do have this moment of nagging doubt that says sometimes players start slowly in pre-season and they have 5 fixtures that they play in, and they play 60 minutes give or take across those games. Sometimes they play 45, but whatever. And it's then only as they're coming into the season that they really start to find a groove and a rhythm. I worry a little bit that if Watkins does that, if Watkins takes 3, 4, 5 games to get into the swing of it and to really be back up to the Watkins that we've seen for the last few seasons... Well, by that point, the fixtures, it's not that they turn bad, but they're not quite as good as they are right now. So I'm looking at him thinking, well, in order for me to have Watkins, now I do have actually quite a lot of money in the bank because of the Solanke thing.
Yes.
So I could quite easily go from Isak up to Watkins. But I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, I just don't know. And so I had to watch Isak today, to see how he got on. And I wasn't that impressed by him either, to be fair. So I'm looking at the pair of them thinking, but I do have a problematic midfielder. Maybe we'll talk about Chelsea next. So Morgan Rodgers is a far easier buy for me into the next few weeks because it's easy to go for Nkunku to Rodgers. It saves me a bit of money. Looks like Rodgers is going to be starting regularly. He seems to be the one that's getting into the nice right positions and all of that stuff. So I can see why people are wanting to go to Watkins, but also I think a lot of people will end up with Rodgers because they've got Nkunku or because they've got a midfielder slot that they're happier to get rid of. It seems to be the midfielders that people are more inclined to sell at the moment.
Well, for sure, Nkunku to Rodgers is going to be popular, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's going to be popular. And then what can people do with that extra $1.5 million is the question. Could you then upgrade Solanke? Could you go for a Havertz? Could you go do that sort of thing?
Well,
if you've not done something about Solanke already.
If I do that, I'll have $3.5 million in the bank.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's fine.
Well, it is
it's not
fine.
a problem, is it?
No, it's not a problem. But I just, when you think at the beginning of the season, I was like, oh, the budget is so difficult this year. I can't afford the players that I want. Now finding that actually, because I don't want Nkunku, if I go down to Rodgers, the obvious move is to go to one of the other 6.5s, the Garnachos, the Matomas, somebody in that kind of ballpark. But I'm also now thinking, actually, maybe the one that's blindingly obvious is the Morgan Rodgers one.
I can see a few that have banked a transfer from game week 1 doing Nkunku and Isak to Rodgers and Watkins. I can just see everyone piling into Aston Villa. I can see it. And I do want to give a shout out before we move on to Arsenal. I do want to give a shout out to, and you know what we're like on this channel, guys, for pronouncing players' names. But I'm going to attempt.
Oh, the little budget friendly.
I'm going to attempt the Villa fullback, Costa Nedjelkovic. Are we saying that right?
Well,
let's say yes.
So I actually got sent. This will make you laugh. Actually, I should share it with you. I got sent a file from the guys at the fantasy show. We all did, all of us experts that appear in the studio, and it has, those little clips of the players saying their names.
Saying their names, yeah.
It has every single player in the Premier League saying their name on it so that you can learn how to pronounce them correctly.
Well, Simon says well done. Alex S says incorrect. Babani says spot on, Lee. Nigel said my best friend is a Serb. Sounds good. Difficult to know whether I've got that right or not based on the feedback, I'll be honest.
I'll play it to you later and we'll see. Yes. So he looks like he might be a good potential Barco replacement, doesn't he?
So if you missed it, Matty Cash went off with an injury. We don't really know the severity of the injury,
but
he didn't look in a good shape, did he? And it looked like a hamstring. So we wait to see what the full diagnosis is.
But they have only yellow 75% flagged him. So it would be a bit risky to go early on this one. I think probably the best thing to do would be to hold fire on this one till the back end of the week when we next hear from Unai Emery and see what he says.
Okay, yeah, the Smiths, 1986. Azzy saying, my best friend's a Serb. 8 out of 10 he gives me for that. 8 out of 10. Very good. Very good. People, mixed feedback. Yeah, mixed feedback for Costa Nedjelkovic. I'm going to go with that's what we're going to go with. But yeah, keep an eye on him. If you have a Barco-shaped problem in your team, as I do, bit of a luxury transfer, some might say, to go from him to Nedjelkovic. But an Aston Villa defender for the next few weeks before you wildcard is maybe not a bad thing. Maybe not a bad thing, depending on whether Cash is out for a while. Arsenal for their part then. So, yeah, I mean, it was looking, they were creating chances, but it was looking like heading towards, a bit of a goalless draw until Mr. Trossard comes on. Bit of a... how would you... What adjective would we use to describe that celebration? Nonchalant? A bit of arrogance in there, a bit of good arrogance, as if to say, why did you drop me? Because I've come on and I've scored the goal. He did. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it. He didn't celebrate at all. He just sort of stood there and just was just like, yep, I'm here.
It's a bit of a
You didn't. Yeah, and what? It was a bit of that, wasn't it? I didn't mind it. I'll be honest. I didn't mind it. It's competition for places in that Arsenal team. They all want to play. I don't mind it.
And the thing is that when you're playing for a team like Arsenal, Man City the same, Liverpool the same. When you get your moment to come on, you have to take it with both hands.
Yeah,
and
totally.
Trossard did that. He came on and he was like, okay, there you go. You've told me to come on here and make a difference. Here I am. I've made a difference. What are you going to do about it now?
Don't drop me next time.
And I sort of like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because obviously Arsenal's fixtures moving forward are they're mixed at best. There's a North London derby in there in 4.
Let's have a look at
There's
this.
the Manchester City game in 5. I think it's Brighton next week in the early kickoff.
Brighton at home, followed by the North London derby at Spurs, followed by a trip to the Etihad before game week 6, which is then Leicester and Southampton at home, where we're all jumping on. But those 2 away games are going to be tricky, right?
They are going to be tricky. And I think, it's the lunchtime kickoff on Saturday as well against a Brighton side that have been good to start the season. We shouldn't overlook the fact that Brighton have started the season really well.
Attacking-wise, they have.
Under a new manager that makes me feel so old whenever he comes on the TV.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
like, oh my God, how are you managing in the Premier League and doing this well? But yeah, I mean, look, I don't think they're the best 3 fixtures in the world, but I'm doubled up on Everton. I've definitely not done that. I'm doubled up on Arsenal at the moment. And I'm looking for a third for game week 6. So I'm kind of going to use game week 3, 4 and 5 to work out who it is that could be that extra player. Because right now, I don't know who it would be.
Who would it be if someone that you had to choose?
If it was right now, I'd do Raya. I'd do Henderson to Raya.
I think so.
I don't know if that's the right thing. I don't know whether I might regret. We had this conversation. I feel like we've gone back about 6 months when we were all going, should I double up on Arsenal in attack or defence? And the answer was, well, actually, you want 4, but you can't have 4. And most people decided to go for the defensive double up. I feel like we're back there again, and that feels the sensible thing to do. But I do think that if they're going to concede goals, the next 3 matches are probably the ones that they might concede them in, because Brighton have been good in attack. Spurs have started the season well in attack. Man City, I mean, they're always good in attack. So if they're going to concede, maybe it's these weeks that they're going to do them. So I'm going to let these 3 weeks play out. See if there's an attacking asset that really grabs my fancy alongside Saka. But if there isn't, then probably go for Raya in goal in 6.
Okay. All right. Just looking at the fixtures there, I just moved away from them, but let me go back to them. It's interesting that in game week 6, Newcastle have got Manchester City in it. Depending on how Isak and Watkins do over the next 3 and Havertz do, that might see some... You might see a few Isak to Havertz there as the third Arsenal potentially. Let's see. A couple of super chats coming in, Sam. Let's go back to this one here from Wilco. Hello, mate. Thank you for the super chat.
Mr. Lunatic.
Well, he says slot football was very calm. Trent and Jota looking top. Oh, why did I do Gordon to Doku while on the Asda toilet?
What did you do?
Okay. Lunatic by name, lunatic by nature.
Right. I've got so many questions about this.
Go on then. What questions have you got?
Why would you do Gordon to Doku?
Well, Gordon wasn't looking particularly good in game week 1, was he? I can see why some people would go off of him, but I think I would have stuck, to be honest with you. And Doku had Ipswich at home.
Yeah, but Doku's a rotation risk, surely.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, Liverpool are looking calm. Wilco, we're going to talk about Liverpool in just a second. Another super chat from Matthew Knights. Thank you, Matthew, for the super chat. Hi, guys, he says. Hi, Matthew. Is Isak a problem now? Is Isak a problem now, Sam? Bournemouth 1, Newcastle 1. What are your thoughts? Is he a problem? I don't think I'd put him in the problem bracket, would you?
How easily we all throw people out.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, he goes a problem. Couple of game weeks in and he's a problem.
In pre-season, we were all
Pretty much in every draft I did in throughout August.
In pre-season, we were all like, he's a must-have. He's one of the only must-haves. Like, everybody had him, didn't they? Like, in terms of like us lot and the people that actually pay attention, not just the outsiders and the other people that play FPL, the casuals, but for us, we were all like Isak, and he was a massive bandwagon. Game week 1, I think we were all disappointed, but we weren't really disappointed in Isak. We were disappointed in Fabian Schär, and the fact that he got sent off and it threw the game to the point where Southampton were the team that conceded the fewest chances in game week 1. Nobody saw that coming.
Yeah.
We go into game week 2 and it's a fixture at Bournemouth. And I think on paper, a fixture away at Bournemouth looks all right. And I remember saying this in pre-season. Like, I'm not convinced about these fixtures. Everyone keeps going on about how nice they are for Newcastle.
Let's have a look.
When you break them down, away to Bournemouth, that's not an easy fixture. Spurs travelling up there, we are terrible up there. We always lose and get smashed. So that probably is one of the easier ones that they've got coming up, to be fair. But we've started well, so we'll see how that
Wolves,
goes.
Fulham, Everton, all away, but they
Fulham's
all look
not
like
an easy
good,
game.
Decent games.
Fulham are difficult, I would say. Everton's a given, so that's fine. What's the other one?
I don't think you're going to... City at home in 6, but I think Spurs at home, Wolves away. I think the next 2 look all right, particularly that Wolves game.
I don't know,
The first 2 games they've had, I think we have to put in some context, I think, with the two games, and I think you're on the right lines there, because the first game, yeah, we're disappointed with Newcastle, but it's share, right? It go down to 10 men and it all goes tits, so it is what it is. Second game, you're right, away at Bournemouth, that is the longest journey, for those of you that are not familiar with UK geography, to get from Newcastle to Bournemouth. I don't know if they flew down, I don't know if there's a 6-hour coach journey, I'd imagine they probably flew. But when would they have flown? Would they have flown today, this morning? Would they have flown yesterday?
No, they'd have flown yesterday.
Well, you don't know, do you? But either way, all I'm saying is...
Not for the 2 o'clock kickoff today, they'd have flown yesterday.
Okay, but all I'm saying is that is a hell of a journey. A hell of a journey, including a flight. And you know what it's like getting on a flight. It's horrible, isn't it? I know they're not exactly flying in Ryanair.
They're not going like...
But I'm just saying, there's a couple of circumstantial bits there around game week 1 and 2 that would make me, in answer to Matthew's question, I'm not panicking on Isak. I'm not panicking. And I've got Lewis Hall as well today, who didn't start, which I couldn't believe, to be honest with you. And they looked better, actually, when he came on. But I'm not panicking yet. I'm going to give him that Spurs game, I think. Are you panicking on Isak?
I'm not panicking, but I am definitely thinking about getting rid of him.
Okay.
Honestly, maybe I've gone Spurs bias, but I don't normally go Spurs bias. No. I never normally do that, so why would I? But I look at that and I think, surely we don't go and get smashed again. Surely we don't. We've started the season well. We're attacking. Our defence is solid and all fit for a change. That's very unusual for us as well. And I did have a moment yesterday when Mickey van der Ven's knee popped out, and I thought, oh my God, if Mickey van der Ven's out again, that's it. But I do wonder whether Newcastle just don't feel quite right at the moment. Like, the defence isn't quite right. It is a bit shaky. Because they've got obviously had Shah suspended. There's the whole Trippier, is he staying, is he going thing going on.
I couldn't believe he didn't play Lewis Hall, by the way. I think Lewis Hall's probably, arguably, they're one of their best defenders.
But
Madness.
We did say earlier on in pre-season that there were some risks here with the Newcastle defence.
I didn't think he was a risk, Lewis Hall.
I know you didn't, but I did say that. That's why I didn't get him, because I thought he was a bit of a rotation risk. Still, now, what I do think on the back of today's performance is that he'll start next week, because they did look better with him there. And it's a home game, and Newcastle are much, much better at home. I would give Isak another week, and at the end of that week, make a decision. The only caveat I think I'd make is if you do want to punt on Ollie Watkins. Because
you want to go early on Watkins, he's the one, isn't
because
it?
His fixtures are nice. Yeah. So whilst you'd be losing Isak, you would be losing him for another player with good fixtures. So if you want to do that, then I don't mind that. But I think if you're just thinking about selling Isak just because you're not happy with Newcastle's start to the season,
okay,
then it does feel a little bit too early to make that judgment on them.
All right, okay, let's move it on. Let's go, where else should we go? Let's go all the way back to Brighton 2, Manchester United 1, as is Little Face on the Match of the Day Challenge. He was so happy when that João Pedro header went in. What did you make of this game? We watched bits of this, didn't we? Because we were out and about on Saturday, so we didn't catch the whole of it. But I did manage to. We were in the pub at the time when the Xerxes goal, inverted commas, went in. I thought Manchester United were bang unlucky there. And by the rules of the game, before it crosses the line, it hits Xerxes, and Xerxes is in an offside position. So it's the right call from VAR. It's the right call. But they're bang unlucky. And again, Garnacho owners can feel particularly hard done by. There's 2 weeks in a row there, and I appreciate in game week 1 that was of his own making because he fluffed his lines. But that one there, he should have scored, and he come on and made a difference again. It's only a matter of time before he starts. He will be first choice, I think, for Manchester United, and he looks a really good option at 6'5", Garnacho.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree. I think he does make a big difference when he comes on. I can't quite work out why he didn't start him this week, because he gave him enough minutes last week, and he'd had a bit before that made me think he was going to get the nod for the start this week, and I was surprised that he didn't. I suspect he gets the nod in game week 3.
Got to, yeah.
I can't.
What are their fixtures like?
I can't think why he wouldn't.
Manchester United. Obviously, it's us next. Then it's Southampton, Crystal Palace, Spurs, and Villa. It's not screaming investment, is it? It's not screaming investment. Liverpool at Old Trafford next week, which could go either way, but we'll talk about Liverpool in a second. 2 away games, then home to Spurs, and then away at Villa. It would be easy to not invest in Garnacho, despite him looking pretty good when he's come on these last 2 weeks.
What do you do if you've got Bruno Fernandes? Because I think Garnacho is if you've got him, you hold. I think you've seen enough in Garnacho that you would hold him.
Yeah.
But I don't think you've seen anything in Bruno that... I know he's like up there for XG stats and all of that, but I'm not seeing enough from Bruno Fernandes to warrant keeping him at that price.
Well, game week 1 we saw plenty of him. He got over 1 XG, didn't he? He just missed a couple of chances, and he was involved, I think, in game week 2. So it's the price, isn't it? It's the price. I think with Garnacho you can afford to hold at 6.5, but at 8.5 for Bruno. Yeah. It gets a bit more difficult, particularly now as Palmer's starting to come back. Saka's banging in game week 1. Sonny's done well in 2. And it's like all of a sudden that 10 million midfield bracket that we knew this was going to happen, right? Because all throughout the summer, I didn't draft anything with Palmer in it or Watkins or who else are we missing? Well, Son, obviously, but there was other, like Foden, right? No, he's missed out altogether this week, right? So he's another question.
Yeah, but that was unlucky because he was ill.
But he was ill, yeah. So all these players that I've just been like, I'm just going to ignore these guys. You can't ignore them forever because they're all bloody good players.
Yeah.
And they're starting to come onto it now. And Chelsea's fixtures, as we know, because we discussed it in the lead up to game week 2, look really, really good. And they've smashed Wolves today. Say what you want about them defensively, rubbish. But offensively, they look good. And Cole was absolutely in the middle of it. So we'll talk about Chelsea in a minute, but I could see why a Bruno Fernandes owner in FPL might try and get a couple of million out of an Isak or out of an Nkunku. You could drop an Nkunku to Winks if you haven't already got him. And that 2 million is your Bruno to Palmer, isn't it? So I could see it. I could see why you'd want to sell Bruno. I can see it. But you're bang unlucky if you've got either him or Garnacho, quite frankly.
Yeah. I don't really agree with you on Bruno. I don't think we've seen anywhere near enough from him. I think if you're paying that much, you need to see a lot more. I think it's very difficult to sit there and say that we've seen enough to keep Bruno. I just don't think we have. I don't think he's been good. Whereas Garnacho, I think it's 6.5. You're looking at it with different eyes. And I think he's come on. He's been unlucky not to start so far.
Yeah.
I think when he starts, we'll get returns from him.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Probably not next week, though, because it's Liverpool.
They haven't looked, just as a general Man United comment, though, they've not looked, and I'm setting myself up for a fall here in game week 3, given they're playing my team, but they haven't looked great, did they? They haven't looked great. And by contrast, Brighton haven't they? Brighton have looked very, very good, particularly offensively. I'm not saying defensively they've been bad because they've looked pretty good, but offensively, there's so many options now. So many options. And what was telling for me was during the match of the day highlights that I watched of Brighton versus Man United, when we were watching along with Az and Mark, Az made the comment of, I think there was a graphic on the screen on Match of the Day, and Herzler did almost like 5 substitutions in a short period of time. So Match of the Day, they grouped them all, didn't they? So 5 players went off and 5 players come on. One of those that went off, or one of those that didn't go off, was João Pedro. João Pedro stayed on and played the game, the entirety of the game, and then he's popped up with the winner in the last minute. I think it's a bit of an emotional rollercoaster with João Pedro, isn't it, with him for his owners? Because throughout the summer, he looked like a really good value pick. Then in game week 1, you're like, oof, okay, well maybe not, because he didn't really get anything. And then game week 2, didn't really get anything until right at the end. Then he gets the goal. Then maybe that kickstarts his season. I think he's a really good option, João Pedro, still.
But it's hard when Danny Welbeck is doing Danny Welbeck things. Like Danny Welbeck...
He played with Welbeck here, though.
No, but it's hard, but they're the same price. So it's for hard, I think. If you're looking at Brighton and thinking, they've started the season really well, I want to invest. The decision, I think, is between going for a midfielder and paying 6.5 million for Matoma, or going less expensive and going 5.5 million and getting Minter. Or you go for a forward, because maybe you've got a Solanke problem, or maybe you want to, I don't know, take somebody down to a cheap option in order that you can take somebody else up elsewhere. And if you're going to do that, then you've got 2 potential options at Brighton. You've got Danny Welbeck and you've got João Pedro. Both of them the same price. Both of them playing in nice positions in that Brighton team. I would argue that in pre-season I would not have recommended Danny Welbeck at all, because although he'd had a fantastic pre-season, they're in the hunt for all of these other players, and you're kind of like, well, is he going to hold his spot in the team? Well, the way that he is playing right now, he's 100% going to hold his spot in that team.
Got a price rise as well, I think. 5-6
had a price
now, right?
rise. He is playing in the number 9 with João Pedro in the 10 behind him. Lovely connections between the two of them that we're seeing so far. And Danny Welbeck just looks like he's going to return every single week. He's had returns in game week 1 and 2 now. Going into game week 3, it's a very difficult fixture. they've got to go away to Arsenal. So that'll be a real test of them because Arsenal defensively are very, very solid. But I think at 5.5 or 5.6 for Danny Welbeck, either which way you go with João Pedro and Welbeck, they feel like really nice options. And while they're playing like they are, I don't see them losing their spots, even with these new players that Brighton have signed.
But even that, so the new guy they've signed, I can't think of the guy's name, but he's more of a 9 than a 10, isn't he?
He is more than so
don't know enough about him.
He's more of a 9 than a 10, so he would be more naturally put in Welbeck's position. And that's the point I'm making, is that while Welbeck is playing like this, there's no way that's happening because Welbeck's playing so well, he'll be used as a come on as a sub.
Yeah, but equally, you sign the fella, you're gonna give him some minutes at some stage, maybe playing up there with João Pedro. So my opinion would be, if you were going to plump between one of the two, yes, Welbeck has started the season like a house on fire, but João Pedro ain't done bad, and he's got the penalties in his locker as well.
He has, but they've also signed. There's another player that Brighton have signed, haven't they, who plays in João Pedro's position. So there's plenty of options in that attacking line. My personal opinion is that it's their spots to lose, both of them. So whilst they're playing well, I don't see things changing. If one of them drops out of form, that's when I think we'll start to see rotation for Brighton. If
you've still got Solanke, and this is a move that, and we'll talk about teams in a bit, but this is absolutely a move I'm considering, is Solanke to João Pedro this week. Definitely considering that. And then I've got 2 million to do. I could do Isak to Watkins. I could get Rodgers in midfield. There's loads of stuff I can do with that.
One of the conversations I had with Max, because obviously I'm happening with his team again this year, it was on the Solanke, who do we go to? And yesterday when we were talking about it, Solanke looked like he was going to drop in price, and I said, well, we've probably got to do something today, Max, because you don't want to lose 0.1. Actually, as it happened, Solanke didn't drop, but Welbeck was going up, and I said, if you want to go for a Brighton player, then if you're planning to wildcard soon enough, then you could play the markets a little bit here and avoid the price drop and gain a price rise. So that's what Max did yesterday. He did, as one of his transfers, he did Solanke to Welbeck to manage that, and caught the price rise up, and obviously avoided the price drop, which looks like it's going to come for Solanke probably this week.
I thought it was going to happen last night, actually, Solanke.
I think it will happen today.
Probably tonight. Yeah, keep an eye on that one.
So watch it. There was 30 price changes yesterday. 30.
Yeah, well, we sat here and said how game week 1 there wasn't as much as we usually have in game week 1. Well, I think people were just sort of seeing the lie of the land. Not too much variance in game week 1 in terms of FPL scores. Well, game week 2, we've seen it, haven't we? We've seen it, and now we're going to start. People won't want to hold on to those transfers for long. Plus, people have got stuff to do. There's stuff to do, right? People are losing the will to live with the likes of Nkunku and Isak a little bit, and Barco's in there as an issue, etc. Right? So, and Solanke. So, lots to be discussed. Thank you for the super chat, Emre Kappa. Thank you, Emre, for the super chat.
You're going to say Emre Chan? I was like,
not Emre Chan.
Doing
no,
there?
Not Emre Chan. No bicycle kicks against Watford. If you know, you know. 95 points. Very nice, Emre. Could easily have had 8 more points if Hall stayed on the bench. Gordon to Mbeumo and Isak to Watkins this week are my transfers. So, yeah, getting heavily off of Newcastle then.
The Mbeumo one's interesting. That's an interesting one because that's really for next week's fixture because they've got Southampton and then the fixture swing difficult again.
For Mbeumo?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it sounds like it could be that Emre is thinking about maybe a wildcard 4 strategy. There's a lot of people thinking about that.
Then you definitely target the Southampton game for Brentford.
Target that Southampton game, yeah, absolutely. Before we go to the next game, Sam, I want to give a quick shout out to everybody that is playing. I've gone on the wrong screen again. There we go. Everyone that is playing PickEm. Everyone that's downloaded the Sleeper app and is playing the PickEm game over on the Sleeper app. Really good, actually. It's so easy to use. For those of you that haven't joined us regularly here on a Sunday night, we're partnering with Sleeper this year, the Sleeper app. So you can download that on the iOS store, the Google Play Store, get it on Android or iOS, wherever you get your apps.
Just looking at how I did.
Yeah, how did you do?
How did you do? I've not been very good at this game so far.
What, just picking scores? It's quite easy to do.
I know it is.
Very easy to use, guys. In case you haven't done it yet, it's never too late to join in. You can go in and just download the app and you just go through, bop. Do I think, is it going to be Liverpool or Brentford or draw? Is it going to be Spurs or Everton or draw? And then you just pick the 10 results. And yeah, every week we're giving away a prize to the FPL manager or the Sleeper manager, let's say, that gets the most game week outcomes correct. So how many did you do? What did you get on this week?
I got 6.
6 out of 10. Okay, it's a bit average, I'll be honest. A bit average.
Well, I don't think I did not expect Chelsea to beat Wolves 6-2.
I
went for a Newcastle win.
But you don't have to guess the scores. Did you guess the Chelsea win then or no?
I guessed a draw.
You guessed a draw. Oh, okay.
And I guessed a draw between Southampton and Forest as well.
Oh, okay. All right.
Probably should have got that one right.
Well, look, if you want to get involved, here's how you do it. You download the Sleeper app, you join our PickEm League, and the links are in the description below. Predict the Premier League scores each game week, as we said, and every game week we will be giving away a kitbag.com voucher. Now, this week we found out actually that kitbag.com in the UK don't do gift vouchers. We found out. We should have figured that out before we did the promo. But they are owned by a company called Fanatics, so we're going to give away a Fanatics voucher. I just haven't changed it here on the graphic. So we're going to give away a £75 or $100 if you prefer Fanatics.com voucher. And Fanatics own Kitbag, right? So you can use the voucher on Kitbag, buy whatever shirt you want. So it's effectively the same thing. So yes, every single week you can be a winner. So let's have a look, Sam.
And at the end of the season, if you win the whole thing, you get 2 hospitality tickets for a Premier League club of your choice.
Get involved. Yeah, get involved. It's going very well so far. But this week, in match week 2, I got 8 this week. So there's me at the top.
You're much better at this than me.
Did all right. And actually, overall, I'm tied 3rd at the moment.
Are you? Are we going on hospitality then?
Well, at the moment, it's going all right. I've got Wilco tied 3rd with me, by the way.
Oh.
As well.
So
I'm up there. I'm up there.
When we were at Fest together, Wilco and I said we should go to a game together. He could take me on his hospitality trip to Liverpool.
I did all right in match week 1, and then in match week 2 I've done all right with 8 as well. So I'm doing all right. I'm tied 3rd. We've got about 400 or 500 people in there.
Very good.
Doing all right. Yeah, doing okay. But not good enough to win the prize for this week. And despite Sam I got all this set up. Look, in case of a tie, people were like, well, why don't you do like the spinny wheel thing and then pick somebody at random rather than just picking someone at random? Get the wheel going. And so I've set all this up. It's all ready to go. Don't bloody need it, do we?
We had a standout winner this week.
Don't bloody need it, because Tiki Saka, 10 out of 10. 10. Listen, that's 10 out of 10. Very,
that
very good.
Going to hurt the podcast.
The podcasters will be loving that clap. 10 out of 10 for Tiki Saka. 2, Dracaris 777, love a bit of Game of Thrones reference, and Fiti9, both in with 9 out of 10. So unlucky, guys. Unlucky. And there was a whole host of you on 8, including me. But Tiki Saka, we will be in touch. You, sir, or madam, will win a £75 or $100, whichever you prefer, Fanatics.com gift voucher. So well done to Tiki Saka. So if you want to get involved with that, guys, download the Sleeper app. All the links are in the description below to join our Pick'em League. And every single week we're giving away money. Every week we're giving away money here on FPL Family. So go and get involved. Completely free. There's no betting. There's no crypto. None of that nonsense that other people get slagged off for in the FPL community.
We don't do with that.
We don't do any of that. We never have, and we never will do betting or any of that stuff. Free to play, giving away free money. Why would you not do it? You download it. It takes 2 seconds, and you might win some money for free. Why would you not? Why would you not? Come and play. See if you can beat me. Currently in 3rd. Come on. And Wilco in 3rd. But yeah, we go. Sleeper app. Get over to your favourite app store and get that downloaded, guys. Get that downloaded. Let's go back to the game, Sam. Here we go. So let's move on from Brighton. I want to talk about Liverpool. I want to talk about Arne Slot ball. Liverpool 2, Brentford 0. Thoughts?
Well,
while I take a breath, because that was quite a lot of sleeper chat.
You did a lot then. It's interesting with Liverpool, isn't it? Because that front 3, I really like. I really like the Salah, Jota, Luis Diaz thing.
Oh, yes.
And I think last week, most people that had Luis Diaz were a bit sad that they had Luis Diaz. Because it was Salah in it mostly, but also Jota that people were talking about. And we were talking about that missed header. And this week, if you had Luis Diaz, you weren't a bit sad. You were very happy to have Luis Diaz.
Oh, yes.
Got a goal and an assist for him today. And I think that might just be the way that... I'm just bashing my cup with my mic. It might just be the way that things are with Liverpool now. Because if you think back a couple of seasons to when we had Salah, Firmino and Mane, the points did quite regularly get shared between the 3 of them. I mean, Salah always was the standout, but Mane and Firmino always did well as well around him.
Yeah.
And I think that will be the same here with these guys. I also thought that when he took them off, he didn't look as good.
Oh, no. No.
Gakpo did fine. Darwin...
Well, I tweeted after the game that slot ball, as I'm now affectionately calling it, and a few others are as well, so not just me, and chaos ball, that we were used to under Darwin Núñez, under the Klopp reign last year and the year previous, are polar opposites. They are polar opposites. Slot ball, so far from what we've seen, in a case short, small sample size because only 2 games and a bit of pre-season, but it's methodical, it's calm, it's patient, it's not heavy metal. It's we will wait for the right chance and we will wait for the right pass and we will create a high XG chance that we hopefully will score from. And it's not chaos ball. It's not Núñez coming on and just, doing what Núñez does and just getting stuck in and involved.
No.
And
not.
we didn't look as good when they come on, no doubt about it. But the front three, those front three in particular, oh man, if you closed your eyes or squinted, there was a, and this is I'm gonna get pelters for this. There was an element of Firmino, Mane, and Salah about it. They pressed like absolute maniacs. And when we had our most prestigious seasons, when we were at our most successful under Klopp, it was when we had those three pressing as the first line of defence. And let me tell you, Jota and Diaz and Salah, of course, as how Salah's still doing it these years later, it looks rolling back the years, isn't he? But the other two as well, when they press together as a team, and then even if you manage to break that line, you've got Szoboszlai on your ass straight away. And you've maybe even got Trent overloading in midfield because he's inverted. I am quietly very happy with how the season has started.
I think for me, I've got Jota. I'm very happy to have Jota. I can't easily get to Salah. I mean, if I go Rodgers if I get Rodgers in for Nkunku and I've got 3 million to play with, then I probably could get Salah quite easily. But I'm actually looking at my team and thinking, I potentially made a mistake at the beginning of the season by not having a Liverpool defender. And I didn't have a Liverpool defender for a couple of reasons. For those of you that were at Fest, you'll have heard me say I wasn't sure defensively what we were going to see from Liverpool under Slot. I just didn't feel that Liverpool defensively last year were very good. There were a lot of mistakes, but it was a lot of it because they hadn't got their players fit. There were a lot of issues with Trent being injured, Robinson being injured, Virgil being out, these ones all coming in and playing different formations. Alisson was out for chunks of it. Like, there was a lot of unease and uncertainty in that Liverpool defence last season. And so I wanted to kind of see how they performed. I didn't feel Kwanzaa was the right thing. I just didn't like the idea of it. It felt too risky to me. And if I was going to spend 6 million, I would rather have had Vardiol with the attacking threat that he displayed last season than I would have Robinson or a Van Dijk. And I couldn't easily get Trent because I wanted Porro as well. Now I'm looking at my team with 2 million currently sitting in the bank, thinking it's very easy now to go from Vardiol to Trent. I can do that no problem. And all right, no attacking returns from Trent today. But I do like what I'm seeing from him. I like the positions that he's finding himself in.
He's so important in this side as well.
Very much
He's so important to the system. Like, I know we're sitting here today saying he's got the 6, and if you've got him, I guess you're happy with that. I mean, at 7 million, you're always looking for some other returns,
Back-to-back
right?
returns, though.
Yeah, and he, created other chances. There was another one for Jota that Jota then did a shot on target, but the defender did a magnificent block.
2 weeks in a row, we could have had Trent to Jota.
We could have, and he hit a free kick that went just over. So he's on. We know, it's confirmed. He's on free kicks. He's our best free kick taker. But what he does in this system, it blends it all together. Like, I will not have anything bad said again about Trent at all. The way that he's playing and in this system, it makes it absolutely. He's a fulcrum of everything about slot ball. So he did look a bit pissed off to come off for Conor Bradley, right?
He was not happy.
And it's interesting that Slot's done that a couple of times, right? So he's brought Salah off today as well. How many times under Klopp did Trent and Salah come off? They never did. They were always on, right? Always 90-minute men. But they're starting to come off a little bit now. And as a Trent owner, I don't know whether I like or I dislike that, because I'd prefer him obviously to be on the pitch for the 95 minutes, whatever it is, to maximise his potential returns.
Yeah.
But every time he comes off on 75, 80, he gets a clean sheet. So I'm like, okay, I'm kind of sort of split on that, to be honest with you. But yeah, Jota, Trent, both looking really, really good. And of course, Mo is Mo, right? Mo is Mo. It's just, it is what it is. I'm sitting here without him, and every week it's just going to affect my rank every single week, right? But it's, again, goes back to it's the Haaland conversation, isn't it? Well, if you have him, maybe you didn't have the Haaland hat-trick, maybe you haven't got Son, maybe you haven't got Saka, you just can't have them all.
But I do also think that what you can do, whilst you can't have everybody, you can try and build a team that enables you to not be devastated by not having that player.
Yeah.
And at the moment, as a Jota owner, obviously I got an assist out of Jota today. Great, lovely, thanks Diogo. That's great.
Love him when he drops deep like that. He drops deep and he's so effective at doing it. He's great.
And I'm happy to own him, and I'm all of that great stuff. But I'm looking at that team today and I'm thinking, what really hurt my rank this week? Because at one point this week I was at 300k, and I was like, wow, this has been a phenomenal week. And there were 3 players that really significantly did damage this weekend. One of them was Salah, but I knew that was coming. Yeah. And it wasn't a huge damage because he didn't go beasting it, but he did damage. Mm-hmm. One of them was Trent, and he did damage because the clean sheet stuck. And the player I had instead, Vardiol, didn't keep the clean sheet. Had he kept his clean sheet, I probably would have survived. The player that did the most damage to my rank was Cole Palmer.
Yeah.
And those 3 are the problems in my team. So now what I need to think about is, well, how do I deal with that? And part of my thinking in pre-season was, well, I can't have Salah, so I'll have Jota. I can't have Palmer, so I'll have Nkunku. Now I'm looking at my team thinking, well, I can get Salah, but it would be easier to get Trent. And if I had Jota and Trent, that feels nicer to me watching a Liverpool game, not as a Salah owner.
All right, nice segue. Joseph Maloney, thank you for the super chat. Highly and Sam 69 for this game week. Impressed with start, delighted with Salah return. So yeah, don't know if he's impressed with Liverpool or impressed with himself there, Joseph. Probably impressed with himself. 69 is not a bad score, mate. Delighted for the Salah return. Jota should have had more today as well. Gakpo was unlucky. So yeah, I don't disagree with any of those things you said, Joseph. I people keep asking me still, is Jota secured? What's his minutes like? And I'll keep saying what I've said all along. You never know, but it is his shirt to lose. It's his shirt to lose because the press and the way that those front 3 press together, if you take Jota out of that and you put Núñez in there who doesn't press, it's not as effective, anywhere near as effective, and it won't be as good. And I think Darwin Núñez is, well, he's out on his ear until he pulls his finger out of his arse and starts to learn to press, because Jota does it so naturally and so physically. It's his shirt to lose. I really do believe it. Nice segue, Sam, into Wolves 2, Chelsea 6. We've got loads to discuss. We haven't even discussed City yet. We've got to talk about them. But Wolves 2, Chelsea 6.
Wolves got gone Packley.
Yes, you do. Yeah, yes, you do. But what a bonkers game, right? 6-2. There's a scoreline that none of us were expecting. And I liked Madueke's comment that he made either on Twitter or in the post-match. He said, because I think Cole Palmer got 3 assists for each of Madueke's goals. And Madueke came out and said, well, Palmer's ice and I'm fire, or something like that, didn't he? So he's trying to build this sort of like Game of Thrones-esque narrative, fire and ice, I don't know. But I liked it. And there's a player that at the back end of last season we liked, didn't we? I think I said a couple of times that there was I watched him a couple of times, and if he got fouled, he'd get up and he'd give a bit to a player, and he's obviously got a little bit of an attitude in there. He'll pick up the odd yellow card for petulance, I'm sure. But bloody hell, he's got some self-confidence and some belief, Madueke. What a player. And actually, I don't think, when I look around that Chelsea front line, I look around the attack for Chelsea, who else comes in on that right-hand side? I mean, he feels like the natural starter there, because in Game Week 1 he put Palmer there, and we clearly saw that in, between Game Week 1 and Game Week 2 that Palmer is not best suited on the wide right and stuck out there. He's absolutely best suited in the middle, which I think is a real positive for Madueke going right, and now a real problem for Nkunku, because he does seem to fancy, obviously, Palmer over Nkunku in the 10, but doesn't fancy Nkunku in the 9. He seems to want to go with Jackson.
Well, we're going to get a feel, I think, again on Thursday night. We did get a very big feel on Thursday. Part of the reason for me benching Nkunku this week was because he started on Thursday. And I just looked at that and was like,
I only got the hour though on Thursday. I didn't think it would be too much of an issue.
I did, because you look at that team that he played, I was like, why is he playing Nkunku in this one?
Yeah.
Doesn't have to. He's given him 60 minutes in Game Week 1. He's had all pre-season with him. He knows what he's getting with Nkunku. He doesn't have to play him today. And he chose to play him today. Then he obviously gets the rest that we can. If he starts him again on Thursday, I think he's an even bigger problem for us in FPL.
Yeah.
I think Madueke, look, he was a naughty boy though, wasn't he? Did you see his Instagram post that he posted to the wrong the wrong account.
I did. I didn't think that was particularly pleasant. Yes,
No,
I saw that.
Naughty boy. Realised it quickly and pulled it
Slap
down.
on the
But
wrist for that.
you can't. People will spot it before you pull it down, silly sausage. But did come out and make a difference today. So from that perspective, I've got to be honest, this result has surprised me.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. No one's expecting Chelsea to score 6. I think we're expecting them to concede 2, but not to score 6.
Yeah. If you'd have said it finished 2-2, I'd have been like,
Yeah.
okay, like fine. But yeah, I wasn't expecting them to score 6, but Palmer was back where he should be. Not stuck out on the wing, being ineffective, which is what we saw in game week 1.
So the question is now, what are you going to do?
Well,
because the Chelsea fixtures, as we said on Sky on Saturday, right, they look pretty green. You've got Palace at home up next, and they've not exactly started the season well.
No.
Bournemouth away.
Got 2 assists against Palace last year.
West Ham away, Brighton at home, Forest at home, and the next 5 look really, really good for Chelsea. So I do want some investment, but at the moment it's not looking like Nkunku, I'm afraid.
No, but also I can't easily go from Nkunku to Palmer because
absolutely not.
I got 2 million.
It's 4 million.
I've got 2. So in order to get from Nkunku to Palmer, I've got to find another 2 million. So that's probably a downgrade on probably Vardiol, but then he's got to get downgraded to a 4 million. There's not many of them about, as I've already got one that's a problem. And I just don't like what that does to my FPL team because I'm happy unless I'm prepared. No, exactly. Unless I'm prepared to downgrade Isak, which maybe I am, but I don't think I am right now. I feel like I lose the balance in my team by getting Cole Palmer in. I think I'm probably going to roll without a Chelsea player for game week 3, simply because I want to understand, or at least until Friday, because if on Thursday we see a Chelsea team sheet that doesn't have Madueke starting, then that would suggest that he's going to get the start in game week 3. And if he is getting the start in game week 3, then that is an obvious move to go from Nkunku to Madueke.
Yeah, as Adam Stevo is saying, though, Palmer is the only nailed Chelsea player in that attacking line at the moment.
100%.
And you've got to go with it. And we can all see it, and surely Maresca can see it, that his best position is in that 10, just off of Jackson. What was it, 3 assists and a goal today? Did he get all the bonus points? Let's have a look.
No, Madueke did.
Of course it's Madueke. 76 BPS.
Madueke
Palmer
got 20 points today.
Excellent, yeah. And then Palmer in with 61. Very, very good indeed. And even João Felix popping up with a goal as well.
And here's another problem, right? For both potentially for Jackson and for Nkunku, because
this is the thing with Nkunku is like, well, if Nkunku doesn't play in the 10 because Palmer's there and Jackson plays up front, does he play left? Well, you just signed Neto. So
who came on and got an assist.
Who came on and got an assist. And you've got, dare I say it, Mudryk in there knocking about at some stage. You've got all their midfielders in the middle. You've got Enzo, you've got Casado, you've got Lavia, you've got all those guys in there. And João Felix now you can add into the mix as well.
But he could play in Jackson's spot.
So he could do. But Jackson started the season reasonably well. So I agree with Adam. I think the only lock in that team is Cole, isn't it? And because he's on penalties as well, maybe he's worth it. A thought that has crossed my mind, and we're going to talk about teams in just a second. It's not out of the question that I wildcard this week. It's not out of the question that I wildcard this week.
You rolled your transfer.
Yeah, but that's fine now this season, isn't it? You just have that. You have that transfer.
Yeah, but
you have it again after you wildcard.
That is true, but you're not going to wildcard. Why are you going to wildcard?
Well, we'll talk about teams in a minute, but I look at those fixtures for Chelsea.
Are you going to wildcard for Palmer? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Because if I look at those fixtures, I think he's a really good captaincy for game week 3, and I think a lot of FPL managers that won't play the wild card can't get to him. So I think not only is he a good differential captain for 3, but I think for those next few fixtures, let's go back to the fixtures again and have a look at those. Imagine having Cole Palmer for those 5. Now, I'm not saying just because they've gone to Wolves and got 6 doesn't mean they're a decent side, Chelsea, right? But the one thing we do know is that Cole's back, he's playing, he's scoring, he's assisting, and he's in the middle of absolutely everything for Chelsea. He's the heart of it. And I just think there's an opportunity there, given that, I probably was going to wildcard somewhere in the next few weeks anyway, bringing it a week forward so that you can aggressively get to Palmer, and I can deal with all the other shit as well, right? So I can get rid of Solanke, and I can get rid of Isak if I wanted to. I'm not sure I do, but I could get rid of him. I can deal with Barco. I can deal with Nkunku. Winks can become Rodgers. I can get on old Nijelkovic or whatever his name is rather than Barco. I can sort out Henderson at the back. Don't like him anymore. There's a lot of things that there's a lot of frankly luxury moves. But if you pop the wild card early, you can, I think, play it quite offensively and go for Cole in game week 3. What do you think?
We haven't watched the game because...
No, sure enough.
Because we haven't been able to see it in the UK. It wasn't a televised game. It was Newcastle and Bournemouth. So we haven't watched this one. I think it's quite hard. On paper, it looks like, Chelsea have run riot. They clearly have because they've scored 6. But I am still with... Was it Adam who was saying before about the...
Yes.
The rotation and the problems that Chelsea potentially have. Plus, they've got a fixture on Thursday evening. I don't know. I don't feel the love for Chelsea clearly in the same way that you do. Yet Palmer hurt my rank today.
I'm not feeling love for Chelsea, but I'm feeling love for Cole. We know what he can do. Didn't even get a penalty today, and he's got 17 points or whatever it is.
No, sure. It's not the Palmer thing, really. I just think that you're... I mean, I wouldn't do it. I would not wildcard for Cole Palmer.
Okay. All right. I'm considering it. I would say I'm probably 60-40 not doing it right now, because I think I can do Nkunku to Rodgers is probably the sensible move, and I can maybe do Solanke to João Pedro. It would leave me with a lot of money in the bank. We'll talk about teams in a second, but I just think there's an opportunity there to go to a premium midfielder who is back, has hit some form in this game, and will be central to everything a good-looking attacking Chelsea side do over the next 6 weeks.
I don't trust Chelsea. Like, they've turned up today, it seems, from looking at the fixture anyway, and Palmer is obviously always going to be good. But I don't know. I'm not convinced by Chelsea yet.
All right.
Once I've watched this one, maybe I change my mind.
All right. And then last but not least, I don't think anybody was expecting Ipswich to score in this game, but here we are. Smodic gets, I think, a debut for him. Debut goal for him, I think.
Came on last week, didn't he? It was his first start.
Okay, first start. Gets the goal. Fair play to him. But all that he did was provoke... He just poked the bear, didn't he, frankly? He just poked the bear and City went...
didn't they?
You ain't... What are you doing?
They were like, sorry.
What are you doing?
This is our first home game of the season. What are you doing?
And then they turned up
box,
and battered them.
3 goals in 6 minutes.
It got to 3-1 very, very quickly. And then City went, don't come and...
There you go.
Don't you come into our place and score. Basically, and they just asserted their authority brilliantly, didn't they? And Haaland with the 3. Could have been more. So I don't even want to talk about Haaland. I just think I've always thought he's a must-have, as do you. Difficult, I know, if you want Palmer and Salah and all the rest of them, but I just think he's a must-have. A player that looks like, and I checked it just before I was coming on, looks like he might be going up in price tonight is Kevin De Bruyne.
Interesting, that.
And I also thought that Savio played particularly well as well. Put in a proper shift. Talk about, we said about Liverpool and the high press and how well the front 3 press. This guy presses like a maniac. I liked him a lot. And because of Oscar Bobb's injury, because of other factors, he looks, I'm going to say locked, but he looks fairly locked on that right-hand side, doesn't he, Savio?
Yeah.
I would say.
I like this pick. I mean, I
like him.
This afternoon, I was working this afternoon. I wrote an article on him because I thought he was, apart from Haaland in his hat-trick, for me, he was the player that impressed me the most in this game. I like what he's doing, and I think we saw that from him in game week 1, didn't we? But he went off injured, concussed, on 45 minutes, didn't come back out for the second half, and I think because of that, we all went, oh well. But we'd seen quite a lot of good stuff from him in that first 45 minutes, and then to yesterday, it was kind of like, oh yeah, I was impressed by you before you went off last week, and now you've played this one, and you've impressed
Caught
me
the eye
again.
again, didn't he? Proper eye test player, isn't he?
Got 2 assists as well in this one, so picked up 9 points.
Won't be the last pen he wins all season, I'll tell you.
Definitely won't. And
Tricky,
when
isn't
you've
he?
got somebody like Haaland taking them, if you win the pens, you're pretty much guaranteed to get the points for the goal going in because it's Haaland on the back of them. I was impressed by Savio, and I'm looking at him because he's another option in the 6.5 bracket.
Well, as the Talking Gas podcast are saying, Savio is a gem at 6'5". He'll play on the left when Foden starts as well. Brilliant end product, looks a quality player. So sounds like he can play either wing. I think given the options they've got over there on the left, I think they've got Doku, they've got Grealish can play there, but I don't think either of those two are any good on the right. So yes, Foden can play right, but I think Pep would prefer him to be in the middle. I think that's his most natural and best position. So I see Savio getting plenty of minutes at 6'5" on the right hand side.
I think
Could be a great little pick.
I think so. I think so. I liked him, and always wanted an additional City, particularly if I'm going to think about doing Vardy to Trent. That would only leave me with Haaland from City, and I would like more than just that. So knowing that I could fairly easily get him just by going from from Nkunku over, it's not like I've got to find 3 million to get Foden, or find 3 million to get KDB, or take the risk of rotation with Doku and Grealish eventually on the other side. Like, there feels like with Savio that we have a relatively good option.
I think you're right. Let's have a look at City's fixtures.
They're fixture proof anyway.
West Ham and Brentford up next, and then it's the big game Arsenal in 5. I love that that's come around so early on in the season. That's going to be. I'm already looking forward. It's going to be a cracker. Newcastle away in 6, and then Fulham in 7. But as you rightly say, they do look pretty fixture proof, don't they? And as Haaland's ownership just creeps up and up and up, you're going to probably want to dip into that City attack elsewhere, and it's going to be again difficult to go to Foden once he comes back. If you want a Palmer, if you want your Sakas alongside Haaland, so Savio is going to get some airtime. I think he's going to get some airtime, no doubt about it. Look very, very good, very good. Sam, that's all we've got time for on the games. Let's get to our teams. Let's talk about your team to start with. 82 points this week.
Hurrah!
With Haaland cap, so very, very good. For what it's worth, your overall rank is up to 1.1 million, which is a nice green arrow for the week. Looking pretty good. Happy with that?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's one of those things, isn't it? Because the Scout app now tells me my overall rank. I was like, how am I at 300k? What's going on? But obviously today, the no Salah, no Trent, no Cole Palmer has had an impact, because going into today, I only had Jota and Isak. Obviously, Isak did nothing, and Jota just the assist. But genuinely, I'm actually really happy with my team. Muniz, I bought in for Solanke this week. I did make a change. I made it quite last minute on Friday night, because again, Solanke was supposed to drop, but Muniz was definitely going to rise.
Yeah.
And when
catch that if you can.
Yeah, because when Postecoglou said that Solanke was out, he made a really interesting comment about, and international break is coming up soon. And I thought, why have you said that?
Yeah.
That's not 1 week.
He dropped it in really casually in the conversation.
It was really casual. He did an ankle, but he played on in the game. And international break's coming up soon, and I was like, you're gonna miss 2. You're gonna miss game week 3 as well. And so because of that, I thought, well, I want to go for Muniz then, because the fixtures are really good, and I wanted Muniz at the start of the season. And then I thought, well, I'll just wait for do it next week, and I'll play Nkunku. And then Nkunku had played the night before, and I felt unsure about his start. And I just thought, why would I not get Muniz for Leicester? Like, I think if you're going to do it, you do it now.
Yeah.
So I did it. As it happens, it was the right thing to do, because he got me an extra point over Nkunku. I do feel a bit aggrieved with him, because he did have 7 shots in that game, and I kind of feel like he had opportunities there, really. A lot of them were headers.
They were low XG though,
they
weren't
were low
they?
XG.
I thought. He was involved, wasn't he? But yeah,
0.68 I think over all 7 of them, something like that. They were quite low, and a lot of them were headed opportunities, which, I'd rather him at his feet. But equally, I'm happy to have him. I think that front 3, it's Isak that's my bigger concern, and I'm just going to wait on that one and see what happens. Obviously, Haaland did what Haaland did. Everyone's got him. Saka, Smith Rowe, so happy for him.
Nice finish for him, yeah.
Really
nice finish for the lad, yeah.
And Jota all returning in the middle. And then the back line doing well again. Obviously, Robinson, just as we were about to come on, picked up an extra bonus point. So that was really nice.
Yeah. And got the assist, didn't he? Very good.
And got the assist.
Looked lively as well, actually, in that game.
He did,
Bit unlucky not to pick up another assist, maybe. His heat maps looked very good, yeah.
Definitely could have had a bit more. And then Pedro Porro, great to have the clean sheet stick. Saliba with the clean sheet. Vardy, fine. I expected a clean sheet, though, to be honest, against Ipswich at home. I'm a bit disappointed not to get that. I thought I'd get 2 back-to-back clean sheets from him. So really my only issues in this team are Nkunku and Barco, who, Barco's an issue for everyone, and that I don't think he'll drop if you read Neil's article, he might not ever drop over on Scout, but even if he does, it'll be in the future. So really, for me right now, it's Nkunku. I would really like to change my goalkeeper, but I'm not going to take a point hit to do that. It'll just be a wait until our wildcard thing, because I'm just not impressed by Palace at all right now.
No, I think that uncertainty around transfers and incomings and outcomings is affecting them. No doubt about it. So 82 for you, 80 for me. It's fine. It's fine. I've had a couple of sort of. I think both of us have had solid starts. You know what I mean? It's fairly unremarkable, but solid, right? And I think given where we are in game week 2, you know, we know a lot more information now than we did, you know, throughout the summer.
Totally.
We're kind of getting a feel for, you know, what we want to do and where we want to go. I'm kind of okay with it. So 80 points, overall rank of 1.7, a full 600k behind you, but only about 4 points, I think, or something ridiculous. So a green arrow, which is good. Obviously, the Haaland captaincy was important. Glad to have had that. Smith Rowe, same as you. The back line also doing well. Trent, Gabriel and Robinson in there with 2 out of the 3 clean sheets and Robinson's assist, etc. So yeah, I look at my team and I go, to go back to my wildcard conversation, I look at it and I go, well,
doesn't it look like a team that needs a wildcard?
Well, maybe it doesn't, but from a playing the wildcard aggressively perspective, I mean, in Nkunku, yeah, I would dearly love to get rid of him, right? And Solanke, if I did Solanke to João Pedro, and I've already got 0.5 in the bank, so that would give me 2.5. So I'm already kind of like, I'm like halfway to Nkunku to Palmer already. So where else could I find that money? Well, okay, say I reluctantly get rid of Isak and I take him down. That leaves me with a very weak-looking front line then, doesn't it? A very weak-looking front line. But if I took an Isak to a Muniz or something like that, then all of a sudden Nkunku can become Palmer. I'd also want a little bit extra money, though, because I would like to do Winks over to Rodgers. I do want to do that. That's a move that I'd like to do. If I was to wildcard, I would do that. I'd sort out my goalkeeper as well. I probably would change that. But yeah, obviously Barco I could change as well. It doesn't need a wildcard. I agree with you. It doesn't need one. But I can't help but feel like those next few fixtures, including a captaincy in 3 potentially for Palmer.
So you bring Palmer in and captain him?
For 3, I probably would, yeah. I probably would, yeah. Having said that, I haven't looked at who else is playing. So who's Haaland got? Away at West Ham. Saka's really home to Brighton. Liverpool playing Manchester United. Yeah, I mean, Palace at home. Chelsea have just got 6 goals and Palace look crap. Why would you not? The other thing is that, if Maresca does look at it and go, well, yeah, for whatever, maybe he had a good reason to not play Nkunku today. And I think what you said before is absolutely right. If Nkunku shows up again in the bloody Conference League on Thursday,
he will, I think.
That's a massive problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a massive problem. Then you've got to get rid of him because he's clearly not first choice. And the options that they've got, you would say his natural and best position is the 10. Well, he ain't playing there.
No.
Cole's there. So it is a problem, no doubt about it. And I do think that if you did want to play the wild card this week because you wanted to go, I would love to do, if I had the money and it was, no problem, Nkunku to Cole Palmer would be my transfer this week. I would get Cole in, no problem.
Well, yeah, if you had the money, everyone would do it.
But I haven't, so why don't I use the wild card to do that and be aggressive, but also sort out some of the other crap in my team because we know a bit more now than we did a couple of weeks ago. And the added benefit is that I've banked 2 transfers and I don't lose those.
No, they roll.
I play the aggressive wild card, go for Cole as a differential captain in 3, sort out all the other crap in my team, and when I come out of it into game week 3, I've still got my 2 free transfers to game week 4. And if I've wild carded, I'd like to think that I'll be sensible and play that wild card for game week 3 and 4. And look ahead to the future. So I could be rolling up to game week 5 with 4 transfers in the bank. So anybody that wants to wildcard in game week 4 and catch me up if that's the right thing, I got 4. I got 4 transfers to play with. So then I can, all right, I can't radically change my team like a wildcarder might, but with 4 transfers you can do a lot of stuff, can't you? I am slowly talking myself into wildcarding this week.
Yeah, I can see that. We've got an international break after game week 3.
I totally agree.
We've seen one Chelsea performance, but which we have not even watched yet. We've just seen the result and seen that Palmer's done well. They've got a fixture to play on Thursday evening.
Yeah.
The team doesn't look that bad. Like
it's not bad. It's not bad. But there's bits and pieces you could change around the edge, and you could get Cole.
You could, but if you're that way inclined, like my gut feeling would be, if you want to go rogue, given the way that Madueke played this week, my team the way it is at the moment, I would value another 90 minutes worth of knowledge about Isak and those types of assets.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'd be thinking, well, let's make a transfer that I can do within budget now that puts me in a Chelsea position. And then if it's a horribly bad decision, and don't do it until Friday because you get an understanding of the conference on Thursday. And then you can wildcard it through international break and deal with PALMER or whoever it is. Like, to wildcard just ahead of an international break where most of your players are going to go off and play for their countries for 2 games.
That's fine. None of them play. None of them. What is it? Friendlies and Nations League.
Yeah,
they'll all just flake it through 90 minutes. None of them will play properly, will they? It'll be fine. The move that I might make, and as some of you saying, game. So there's a comment. Game week 4-5, you'll want Salah league. Yeah, but by then I'll have banked so many transfers that I can deal with it. If I want Salah, I can do it. Adam Stevo saying like it, Lee. Gavin Doyle saying Nkunku's dropping in price tonight. Move quickly. Well, Gavin, you're absolutely right. A player that I know I definitely am going to want for Game Week 3. I definitely want Rodgers for Game Week 3.
Yeah.
So I'll do Nkunku to Rodgers tonight.
Because you wildcard later, it doesn't matter.
And then I'll see what happens on Thursday. And if it happens on Thursday that Cole smashes it again or Nkunku starts and that's a problem, then I pop the wildcard on Thursday.
Yeah.
That transfer then goes back in the bank, doesn't it? And I know that I've got Rodgers still already, and I avoid the Nkunku price drop, right? I don't mind it at all. It's I am considering it. I just think that PALMER showed us today, and we've got to watch the highlights. Yes, we're going to do that in a minute. But he just showed us all today what we're missing. And I just think in a few weeks from now, with these good fixtures, people will be getting on him. Game week 4 wildcarders, game week 5-6 wildcarders. I think we'll all have Cole Palmer in. So why not do it now and get him for that Palace at home and captain him in a week where there isn't really an obvious captain from elsewhere? Haaland away at West Ham, yeah, you can see it. That's never a bad thing. And then who else we got? Salah's at Man U. Yep, don't mind it. Saka's home to Brighton. Don't mind any of those. Palmer at home to Palace. I like a lot. I like it a lot. So I'm still erring towards not doing the wildcard, guys, but I am seriously thinking about it. Because I do think it enables me to be aggressive as well as sort out some other stuff. Super chat just before we go from Sidar. Thoughts on Eze? Not touching Palace at the minute. No. Don't think you can.
I don't think you can either until the transfer window closes and they get some certainty. They're also in for Nketiah, I saw.
Yes, I think that's true. Yeah, I think that's true.
So if you've got Mateta, maybe that's an issue. I think Palace don't look right.
No.
And so for me, if you've got Eze, I would be selling him.
Not for us, Siddharth. Not for us, mate. Quick shout out to our friends at Fantasy Football Scout. If you haven't downloaded it yet, then the new FF Scout app is out. I'm using it like all day, every day at the minute. Saturdays and Sundays particularly. When you want to check your team on Live FPL, it's got an integrated API into Live FPL, so your team just shows up natively in the Fantasy Football Scout app. You can get all the members area stuff, as you can see there, heat maps and player comparisons and the little spider web things, the graphs that do the little comparisons between players. It is ace. It is ace, guys. So if you haven't downloaded the new Fantasy Football Scout app yet, you can get it if you're on iOS and on the Google Play Store. So there's 2 bits of homework for you today. Sleeper and Fantasy Football Scout app. So go and get those 2. Go and get those 2 apps on your phone. You will not regret it.
The one thing I am going to work on when I get back from holiday is bringing your live leagues into the app, because that is the one thing that I've noticed today that we don't get at the moment, and that's bothered me because Max kept saying to me, "Mummy, how am I getting on?" And I was like, "Oh," and I got the app up and I was like, "Oh, I can't get it there. Go back to Live FPL." So I will work on that with Reese, and we'll try and build that in. There's going to be a little ticker that comes around as well that shows you how big your rank rises and falls have been over the game week, so that'll be quite nice once we get in there. Little shout out to Max, by the way. 107 he got this week.
He's doing well. He's doing well. No doubt about it.
He had Mickey van der Ven.
Of course he did. And Haaland triple cap, didn't he? Bless him. There we go, Sam. Tell the folks what is coming up this week.
It's a bit of a quieter week for us because we are actually going to take a little break.
We will be at Stansted Airport in about 7 hours from now.
Well, we will if I've packed. We are going on a little jolly for the week. We will be back on Friday, so no Q&A for me this week because I won't be here to do that. Az will get a stand-in. I think he's trying to get Gianni, so Gianni, be warned, Az is out to get you. I am, however, going to continue doing the pod while I'm away, so I'll record that on Thursday morning with Jules and Kelly. You'll have to take the kiddies out for a little bit of breakfast while I'm doing that one. But otherwise, that's it.
They can have ice cream for breakfast, can't they, over in Italy?
They can have whatever they want. They can have pizza or pasta for breakfast if they really want. Evie will be eating pasta 3 times a day, which, if you know our daughter, will know that's her favourite thing in the world. So happy days.
I've only been to Italy a couple of times, and the the food over there, the coffee and the ice cream and everything is amazing. We're gonna do. We got
There's
loads
no
of
way
stuff.
you're wildcarding while we're on holiday.
Yeah, I might. Why not? Why not play it your way, as they say over on Planet
What
FPL,
is it that
Sam?
you said to me?
What?
You said, Sam, you got to take some time off work.
This is time off work. Wildcarding is not work, is it? For me, for you, it consumes your week. But for me, I'll do Nkunku to Palmer and I'll leave it for a few days.
Sure.
You shouldn't wildcard this week because
I'm definitely not wildcarding this week. I like my team. But yeah, so this week it's going to be a bit more of a quieter week for us. It will just be me on the official pod, and then the week after's busy again. We ended up having an extra busy week this week because I unexpectedly did the fantasy show as well this week, which wasn't on my diary.
Why wasn't it on your diary?
Because
They just booked Az the wrong day.
Because Tom booked Az for the wrong week, and then Az couldn't do it. Anyway, it's all fine.
Sam, help!
Help, Sam! So I helped. But that was nice. Nice to see Kelly. But yeah, this week's going to be a little bit quieter.
Fabulous. All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you for joining. Again, we've gone to an hour and a half. God, I was trying to keep this a little bit shorter than normal, but an hour and a half's worth of FPL Family tonight. Thank you for joining us. We've had up to about 800 people in the chat, guys, so thank you for joining us. Hit that like button, and if you're new to FPL Family, hit the subscribe as well. Helps us more than you know to get our channel out to new audiences and to reach new people. So like and subscribe. If we can ask one thing of you guys, we could ask three things of you guys: Sleeper app, Scout app, and like and subscribe the live stream, guys. So thanks very much for joining us tonight, and we will see you this time next Sunday when we'll be discussing Game Week 3 and potentially
Another Spurs win?
how my wildcard has gone.
Oh my God.
We'll see you then. Cheers, guys.
Bye, guys.